Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins. The website, tonyperkins.com. A poll, an article about the poll from Daily Caller, the YouGov poll that was released earlier today. It says 45% of Republicans support ransacking the U.S. Capitol. Now, I'm always leery of polls anyway, but I will say that I think this is consistent with some of the things I've been seeing on social media and even some of the email messages that I've gotten today. And I'm just going to say, with all due respect to those that feel like the storming of the Capitol was the right thing to do because we're frustrated, you're wrong. Look, and that's coming from someone. I'm a Marine veteran. I'm a police officer. I've been a police officer. I'm not afraid of a fight, but that is not the way we are going to save this country by storming our nation's capital. It was foolish. Now, again, I don't think it was our people that did it, but I'm concerned that a lot of our folks support it out of frustration. We've got to channel our frustration in the right direction. People say, well, we voted and our votes were stolen. I agree. But there is a way to fix this, and we must. I experienced this in 1996, new to politics. I'd just been elected to office, and I was a campaign manager for a U.S. Senate race. A friend of mine was running, and I managed that race, and we won the primary, went into the runoff, very similar to what just happened in Georgia, and we lost by 5,400 votes out of, I think, 1.2 million votes cast. And there was blatant evidence of fraud. We documented it. Didn't have time to press our case in court because we only had 5 days, took it to the Senate, and they caved, didn't do anything with it. But what we did do is I went back in the next 2 years working with my colleagues, one of them being Steve Scalise, now the minority whip in the House, and we reformed our election laws. And we, in fact, eliminated the Commissioner of Elections that was a corrupt office, and we've not had fraud in our state. In fact, Louisiana has trended now to be one of the reddest states in the nation. Well, joining me now to talk about what's next in terms of cleaning up election and where the responsibilities lie is the former Ohio Secretary of State who oversaw the elections in the state of Ohio, Ken Blackwell. Ken, welcome back.
Hey, Tony. Good to be with you, sir.
Okay, so people are saying, all right, what do we do? They think Congress can fix this. This is actually not a congressional issue. This lies with the states.
Absolutely. First, look, the task of counting every legal ballot and excluding every unlawful one is the challenge faced by practitioners of election law, whether as lawyers or as election officials. The primary authority for elections rests with states and state legislatures. And it is then the responsibility of executives like secretaries of state to carry out the ground rules established by the state legislature. So we have to understand that within our system of federalism, reforming our election system state by state rests primarily with state legislatures. And that means that we have to focus our attention this month, not next year, this month, on state legislatures that have come back into session. And the first order of business must be reforming our election laws and practices within those states to protect the chain of custody of ballots, to in fact make sure that verification systems are put in place so that we know that voters are who they claim to be and that they have met the rules and regulations of that state to be an eligible voter. So that's where we start. Now is when we start, and it's time for us to get busy.
Now, also add to that list of items to address where you had organizations, nonprofits giving money to elections commissions to hire people to go out and take ballots to people and bring those ballots back in. There should be clear prohibitions in law from nonprofits that maybe have ulterior motives from funding these elections commissions.
Absolutely, and a case study should be Mark Zuckerberg and what he did with $500 million in this election in targeted states and in targeted counties within those states, giving an uneven playing field to the voters in those counties and in those states. You are absolutely right. That is one of the dark corners of election practice that we have to shine light on. And we have to also speak up. And we have to say that in-person voting is the most secure method of voting because it is monitored in a polling place by election officials, bipartisan election officials, to protect the integrity of the process. What we watched this past election under the cover of COVID-19 was a major transformation of our system when a disproportionate amount of our ballots came in through the mail and the chain of custody was broken and verification systems were minimalized or neglected altogether. That, in fact, opened our systems in our respective states open to fraud, manipulation, illegality, and irregularities.
So people need to begin calling right now their state legislators and calling upon them to investigate, to address and reform their election systems, especially in those states where we know there were issues. That needs to happen right now.
That's absolutely right. And we must understand that what has made us an exceptional nation for 244 years is that our liberty actually rests with the individual citizen, and protecting that citizens or those citizen voices through the ballot box is primary in maintaining the integrity and the exceptionalism of our nation.
All right, Ken Blackwell, thanks so much for joining us. As always, great to visit with you.
Thank you, Tony. Have a good one.